here?
What are you trying to do?
What?
It says you were in a moderated call. Okay. Just on the left, I didn't notice before. There's a Q&A, a screen share, a chat.
Yeah, that's always been there. We've probably just never had to use it. So
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Hold on. Since not everyone's here yet, I'm gonna go let the dog in. 1 second.
hey, not a problem. Still gotta wait for Ryan and
Jordan's going to be jumping on too, I think.
who is
Jordan?
Jordan? Okay, cool. Get my questions loaded up here in the side window as well.
Come up with anything else?
Yeah, I got a few, but we'll kind of save it. I'm gonna try to put these in order real quick and figure out what's the best way to kind of get this flow. There's Jordan. What's up, man?
All right. How you doing?
What's up,
Doing all right?
Hey, now.
We're gonna leave out the carry bomb since he didn't make it tonight.
Oh, I was all ready to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean we can if we want. In his absence, I don't care.
That's up to you.
What are we talking about?
The Pappy deal?
Oh yeah.
What do you call him? Like Grumpy Van Winkle?
Yeah. Which it couldn't have happened to a better guy, because I feel like Carrie has that just enough that sarcastic attitude you can rub it in and not feel bad about it.
Sure. I'm gonna put it on.
What are you boys drinking tonight?
I just grabbed a bottle of Stag Junior from the basement. That's all I got.
Nice.
I just poured Bullet Barrel Proof.
What do you think about
I've been on. I think it's pretty good. I mean,
that? All right.
and compare it to like a good Four Roses private pick. I paid too much for it because I had to pay somebody to buy it in Kentucky to ship it to me. So I think they ended up paying like close to $80 by the end of the day. Because
Holy cow. Okay.
I don't know if the guy had never shipped a bottle before. Luckily, I'm doing
Dude,
bottles.
you know me. You know I'm like right here, right?
I know. Which I had
It sounds like that was the point.
locally who was like, "Hey, man, I got a bottle for us. You want to split it?" Yeah, just let me know how much it is. He's like, "Okay, your total is $42." I'm like, did I get the whole bottle, or like, did I claim 3/4 of the bottle, or yeah.
Oh,
But for what it is, yeah, that's. I'm working on a post about Bullet now, so I hit Bullet Bourbon earlier tonight. I hit Bullet Rye last night. Gonna do the barrel proof now, and then I have the original. Can you see? Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah, you posted that the other day on Instagram, didn't you?
Yeah, about which it actually is a really cool story. I always kind of knew they had that bottling and thought it was Buffalo Trace, and then the more I dug, it's a really interesting story. And then the Bullet team reached out and said, "Hey, if you need any feedback on your story, let us know." So I sent them my list of questions that I'm guessing won't get answered, because it's like, who distilled the original Bullet? Because I know it wasn't you guys. What year did you buy it from Seagram's? How did
The real softball ones, right?
You got it.
Look,
that is not
it's
going to
all
happen.
public. And then they also, the funny thing is, they say 1987 as the starting date for all their marketing material.
Yep.
And I was talking to Chuck Cowdery about it. He's like, that didn't come out until 1995. And the best we can kind of reconcile is he contracted with Ancient Age Distillery, now Buffalo Trace, in 1989. So maybe he had the idea in 87. And so that's
around somewhere up there. Yeah. That's how that goes.
Let's just call it the 80s, guys. Diageo marketing math, 87 words.
Yeah, that's what I was actually at Bullet Frontier Experience today doing an interview with Kevin Didio, the manager of the.
I saw the Stitzel-Weller picture.
Yeah. So I was there earlier today. Yeah, he told me some cool things that will be happening that I'm not privy to kind of talking about, but like new visitor experience sort of things that they're looking to do in 2017. Which
very cool.
He said about a month you can tell everybody, but it sounded pretty awesome.
But
of course,
he said
you guys are all about
Google
leaking
Hangout.
news, and I can't be a part of that. So
if you're on a Google Hangout, feel free to go ahead and give up that information. I think is what he said. By the end of tonight, we'll be able to get that information out of them. I think they have I think they have a really cool setup. So I'm excited to see what they do, and whether it definitely switched sources somewhere along the last 2 years or so, but they still put out a good product. I mean, I grabbed the Bullet bourbon off the shelf just because I haven't done that in a couple years, and it's still pretty good. I think I paid $28, and it's still
relatively affordable for the most part. I mean,
it's
good.
Yeah,
that's what I got, a free bottle of he just gave me a bottle of 10-year today just for coming by. I was like, oh, cool, thanks. So,
sure.
Yeah.
So I've actually, I don't think I've ever paid for a bottle of Bullet, and I've got like 2 bottles in the basement. So
that's one of those ones like you're going to get it as a gift, or they send it out as marketing material or something. And that's like, you know what? I'm going to support my local store and go and actually shell out the cash for a bottle.
Oh, their marketing is so cocktail driven too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's one of the things he said. He goes, honestly, here in Kentucky, like Bullet doesn't have like the best name or reputation, but you go to New York or San Francisco, and he goes, there's Bullet everywhere. That's pretty much what any major bar is making their cocktails with, is using some sort of, whether it's just Bullet Standard or Bullet Rye.
Yeah,
I feel like the rye's become like a cocktail staple in major cities for sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna
I got some Old Forester 1920. You guys have this yet?
Oh yeah. No.
Yeah. What do you think?
I saw somebody in my local group just posted that it hit Florida. I haven't tried it yet. How is it?
I'm liking it.
Yeah, it's good.
Is it?
Yeah.
The Old Forester 1920.
Yep. It's not bad. I got to go to a private invite here in town with. It was the first night that Old Forester birthday bourbon was kind of being previewed to some of the media pundits around here, and they were also letting you sample that along with the Old Forester 1920. And it was kind of hard going back and forth between each one.
2 totally different bourbons.
Yeah, it was definitely 2 completely different ones. I was kind of pleasantly surprised by it, but at the end of the day, it's still nothing that's like, oh, I got to go out and I got to buy a second one, right?
Yeah.
It's a premium line. They're definitely pushing up the price tag on that line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's kind of the interesting thing is I know they kind of all have a different like backstory with the ages and everything, but I haven't quite seen a whole lot that's different in like the year or that I don't know, that I can't quite figure out what they're trying to do. If they're just trying to get more SKUs out there and that's the angle, or if it really is like one's a 10-year-old, the other one's an 8-year-old, or if it's just
really it allows them. I
think
it's a little bit of marketing. I think they didn't just have that product line that was year-round, higher priced, right?
Yeah.
When you look at Brown-Forman, so this allows them to start elevating, like, hey, sure, we do our master's collection, sure, we do our birthday bourbon, but now we got, now we have a staple $60, $70, $80 bourbon in the market at all times, right? Which they really didn't have, and that was a big miss for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Kind of like,
it's kind of like
E.H. Taylor has.
Or E.H.
exactly.
Taylor.
That premium line.
That makes sense.
Well, hey guys,
that stuff used to sit on the
started
shelf
here because I know we've got a habit of always starting really late. Ryan's not going to join us, so if there was an over/under bet, doesn't really matter. I guess it's just
let's do this.
I put the chat link into the group chat, so you can go ahead and open that up and kind of see what people are talking about as we're doing this. So right now we've got almost 20 viewers, and we can get rolling. Cool?
Cool.
Sounds good.
All right. Welcome back to the episode of the Bourbon Pursuit Podcast. Kenny here tonight with the third roundtable that we've been doing. This is always a fun little thing where we get some of the top bloggers around here, and we kind of just chit chat. You know, it's nothing that is. It's a semi-set agenda. This is all happening on YouTube Live right now. We've got 21 viewers right now. I think we'll probably get up to around 50 at some point. But it's a way that we want people to be involved. So people that are on chat right now, I encourage you to ask questions and answer our questions, and we'll give you shout outs during this whole entire thing. So let's go ahead and do our usual roll call. So of course, Kenny from Bourbon Pursuit here, and I'll move it over to Blake right now.
I'm Blake from Bourboner.com. Filling in from Ryan tonight. He has I'm just kidding. Bourboner.com, the blog, and probably the release maps you're tired of by now and you hate, and also the Bourboner Friday wrap-up emails. So
I'm Nick from Breaking Bourbon, breakingbourbon.com, known for release calendar, reviews, and articles.
And I'm Jordan, also from breakingbourbon.com.
Awesome. Well, so we got that. So I guess it's let's go ahead and just give a quick shout to what we're drinking on right now. So I just went to the bar, just grabbed something real nice and easy. So I got a Stag Junior, 128.7 proof. What are you guys sipping on right now?
I'm drinking Bullet Barrel Strength. I've been on a Bullet kick lately, so there's a post coming next week about the history of Bullet. It's not the actual bottle. I did a bottle split, so this is my half that I have left.
Good deal.
I'm drinking
go for it, Nick.
I'm drinking an Old Forester 1920, the third installment in the Whiskey Row series. Their highest proof, and just getting to know it. Pretty good so far.
I'm drinking a Big Bottom Small Batch Single Barrel. So this is a Sorcerer distiller out of Oregon. Really, really great. This is actually a fantastic little distillery. So looking forward to a lot of their stuff that they're starting to distill.
Okay, awesome. So I guess that we'll kind of lead that into a first question. I actually posed the wrong first question in the chat, but since we are drinking, I guess this is something that was actually asked by Max Gordian on the Bourboner Facebook group, and he said, how long do you usually let your bourbon breathe after you pour a glass? Let you want to take that one.
I'll go ahead. Yeah. So I've actually gone back and forth on this. I usually like to, well, maybe because I'm just impatient, but take the first few sips within the first few minutes. And then it's funny how, and I don't know if it's based on the mash bill or distillery, but there's some bourbons that you let sit for 30 minutes. They really do change in flavor. So if I'm doing a review, I like to do a little bit of both. I'll try it out of the bottle and kind of review, do notes, let it sit, try it again. And maybe the next night I'll just pour it and let it sit for 30 minutes. 30 minutes seems to be my max that I can go without trying to drink. So I don't know if that's just a personal, really that's the time limit, or if that's just as long as I can wait on a table before I have to drink it. So that's what I try to do.
That also leads into the 15-minute reviews that Blake always likes to post on Facebook Live.
I actually make everyone sit there and wait for the 30 minutes while I don't say anything. But guys, we're just going to sit here and let this open up. So hope you enjoy.
So I'm kind of with Blake on that one. I like to, especially when I'm doing a review, the first time I like to just pour it and taste and sip it. My thought is half the people reading will probably be going out to the store to buy one, but the other half might be at a bar. And when you order bourbon at a bar, you're probably not going to sit there for 30 minutes. You're just going to start drinking it, right? So I want to taste what they're going to be tasting. And then, if I'm at home, then, and not reviewing a bourbon, yeah, I'll let it sit for 10, 15 minutes, but that's usually some just, shooting the shit with other folks around me.
Nick, what about you?
Yeah, I would say probably a little bit of the same. You always tempted to kind of try it right out of the bottle, right as you pour it in the glass. but it does change over time. And, depending how deep the pour is or what you're up to at the time, it can take 30 minutes sometimes to drink a bourbon. When I'm reviewing something, always use a Glencairn for reviews, although I often drink in fact, I'm drinking from a rocks glass right now, which is just I guess more of a casual experience for me. But yeah, that airtime sometimes is helpful. I've also noticed, a lot of bottles seem like that first pour is like the worst pour. And then once you get into it a week or a couple weeks later, it tends to be a little bit better, a little more mellow. Sometimes there's a little bit too much alcohol in that very first pour out of the bottle. It's a little too tannic.
Yeah, I'm kind of with, so in the chat, Tyson's Toy Channel said about 5 seconds is about how long it is. And I'm kind of with him on that. It's very hard for me to just pour something and then walk away. Definitely, if I'm drinking something, I usually just pop it open, pour it in there, and then it takes literally about 10 to 15 seconds before it hits my mouth. But I will say that I have noticed that, the flavors in a bottle always change. One thing that always springs to my mind was the 2015 William Lou Weller. I remember the first time I opened it and popped the top, put it in the glass, and then tried drinking it. I hated it. I thought it tasted like black licorice. I was so mad because I was like, I finally got this William Lou Weller, and it's the worst thing I've ever tasted. And got down a few pours and then kind of just let it sit for 3 months, 6 months, and then tried it again. It was a completely different bourbon at that point. So now it turned into one of the better ones. But there is definitely some truth to the myth of actually letting your bourbon breathe for an extended period of time.
For sure.
I think it may have something to do with proof as well. It seems like the higher proofs, either, they kind of do this, because I've had some lower proof bourbons that I've tried a year or two after I opened the bottle, and they've been pretty good, but I've had some higher proof ones that I let sit for a year and a half, 2 years, and they actually have gone bad or just way too oxidized. I'm sure there's some kind of science behind that, but as for the actual science, I'm not
Bourbon
sure.
did a test about this not too long ago.
I know I can't put my bourbon in a windowsill because that's going to destroy it right away. So
no, it was pretty consistent with those 1/3 fills though, and that was a low proof. That was Weller Special Reserve. Those 1/3 fills tended to be the best ones, not always unanimously, but they were up there. In fact, we just had some Sazerac 18. I want to say it was like maybe a 2013. It's been about 2 inches in the bottom of the bottle. Belongs to Eric, the third guy of the Breaking Bourbon team here, and it was phenomenal. I'll tell you, drinking that next to this year's Sazerac 18, it was two totally different ryes. It just so much better. The older one was so much better.
I think you guys, everybody kind of beat that horse to death about Saz, so we won't do that. If anybody here is listening wants to learn more, go and check out pretty much every one of these bloggers' pages. They'll go ahead and make you realize that you're going to pay too much for something new. Go ahead and spring for something that's pre-2016. So another question that we kind of had line up here is, what do you think is the cheapest bottle worth having? And I'll go first because at least around here in Kentucky, we're spoiled. And then we've got a few people that already chimed in about this. And I got to go with what David Goth, Jamie Albrighton, Greg Ponder, and then also Tyson's Toy Channel. So 3 of these people said the Heaven Hill 6-year and 6-year bottle and bond.
Yep.
It's a super, super cheap. Like we're talking $15.
Less than that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's super cheap, especially around here. And it's a Kentucky only thing. And the other one is the Old Fitz bottle and bond. So both of these are Kentucky only releases, and both on the super cheap side. And it's, oddly enough, both coming from or should I say coming from Heaven Hill, it definitely, I really like it, only just because having something 6 years, I mean, hell, most craft distilleries that are pushing something out, they're barely pushing 4 years, and they're talking 50, 60, 70 bucks a bottle. So something that's like this, it's kind of hard to argue with. But I'll push it over you all and what you guys think is the best bottle worth having, or the cheapest bottle worth having.
Yeah, I got to say I agree with that. In fact, I just stocked up on a few of those Jordan was down in Kentucky, and that's the one thing I wanted. Drank through the bottles I had pretty quickly, but geez, I think we paid $12 for it, and you can't beat it. It's kind of like a gift to Kentucky or to anyone that wants to visit Kentucky. But what's more, I think, readily available, the Evan Williams bottled and bond. That's kind of a nice consolation prize. If you're you don't have access to Kentucky, it's about $15. We'll look for the white label, and usually you're not going to go wrong with that. Pretty versatile. You can mix it, sip it, whatever you want.
Yeah, definitely going to agree with Nick. That Heaven Hill bib is so hard to beat, especially for the price. And then also, and I might be the oddball out on this one, I kind of like, the shirt Nick's wearing. I like Mellow Corn. It's cheap, but it gives you like this different flavor profile. And it's good just for something different without breaking the bank by any means. So that's, that's between those two. I'm going for a cheap whiskey. It's going to be Mellow Corn or a Heaven Hill bib.
Now, before we kind of go to Blake right there, I want to kind of touch on Mellow Corn a little bit, because I've always resisted it, because everybody that says they've tasted it says it's literally like taking a spoonful of like corn, literally like canned corn, and trying to drink it, right? And but I also saw somebody on one of the sites that they were trying to find some stuff that was I don't know, who's it come from now? Is it come from Heaven Hill, or where's it come from?
Yeah, that's still a Heaven Hill brand.
Okay, but maybe it was another DSP before then, but they were trying to find something that was distilled prior to then. Apparently it tasted change for some $10 bottle at some point.
I guess maybe it's corn. It's almost 100% corn whiskey. So
you got
$100.
You got to like the flavor profile. It's a different flavor profile, but not a lot quite like it.
Low corn that they used in the 60s was way better than the low corn today.
That's it. Like that was the special flavor at it.
Yeah. Well, I hate to give Heaven Hill all the credit for the bottom shelf bourbons, but J.W. Dant is kind of my go-to for a bottom shelf. Their bottled and bond version I used to be able to get well, I probably still can. I just haven't needed, because I bought basically a gallon's worth for at one point. The big, huge plastic bottles, and it's just really good bourbon. I actually did it in a blind tasting with, I did the J.W. Dant, Elijah Craig, the 12-year when it was still the 12-year age dated, and then Elijah Craig 18-year. And actually, I think there was 18 people in the blind tasting, and like 40% of them picked the Dant as their favorite. And nobody had it as their third. So it was either one or two in everyone's lineup. Now, you could just say that it's kind of got this weird profile. And while everyone says they like older bourbon of woody taste when they're tasting it blind, but it's just a really good bourbon no matter how you look at it. They have a really good one. Barton used to, whenever it was age dated, I think was really good for that bottom shelf price. But if I'm looking for plastic bottle bourbon, A.W. Dant.
That's where it is. It's not too bad. It's a good one. So we had a few other kind of ones that chimed in. It's kind of surprised to see this one. So the Speakeasy Wisconsin said Fighting Cocks. I never would have thought about that one.
All right.
Whiskey Zealot said E.H. Taylor barrel proof. So apparently like $100 bottle is cheap to him. But
it's all relative.
It's all relative. Yeah. It's all relative, right? And but I mean, there's a lot of people that said Mellow Corn, single barrel Evan Williams. So it seems like there's a good consensus about a lot of that stuff that was happening. So kind of on the idea of what's happening in regards of the holidays coming up and cheap bourbon, we all have family members, and a lot of them they think they're into bourbon, or they're getting into bourbon, whatever it is. But do you get some of your really good bottles and actually bring them to like Thanksgiving and Christmas and the holidays? Or you're like, well, I'll just bring the lot B and tell them that's Pappy.
I'll go ahead. So
Go ahead, George.
I won't. I mean, knowing like friends and family, unless it's like, really good bourbon drinkers, I'll leave my stuff at home and just set myself a price limit. Like I'll go to the store, I'll, set a $60, $70 price limit and buy like a nicer bottle to bring, and they're not going to know the difference, right? I'm going to enjoy drinking on it. I don't need to worry about like drinking out my really good stuff with them not appreciating it, and everyone like wins, right? So maybe a bottle of Blanton's, bottle of E.H. Taylor single barrel, something like that, something that they're probably not going to have by any means at their home bar, but they're still really going to enjoy. Call me greedy. That's okay.
Yeah, I go back and forth on this one. Last year, we were out of town for Thanksgiving, and I bring in a box with like that year, or the 2015 Four Roses limited edition small batch, a lot B. I think I brought a cured oak, and most of my family aren't real like aficionados, so I could have brought J.W. Dant and they wouldn't have known the difference. So, I kind of go back and forth. Yes, I like to share it with everyone, and we ended up like polishing off a bottle of Lot B that night. But then it's kind of like your fourth or fifth or drink of the night shouldn't be a really expensive bottle, because you're like, oh yeah, this tastes sweet still, so it's good. So while it is fun to share those bottles with people, like I never sit at home and just drink a really expensive bottle by myself. Sitting to just be hanging around the rest of the night. Maybe you start with the Van Winkle or Four Roses, but then you kind of move on to just the regular Buffalo Trace or something like that. So, lesson learned. But it is kind of nice to have that smorgasbord of stuff where people are like, oh, I've never tried any in this box, so I'm going to try a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and go through as the night goes. But the night ended with making a brisket sandwich with Krispy Kreme donuts as the bread. So there wasn't much bourbon being really enjoyed by the time we got to later in the night.
There you go.
Yeah, Thanksgiving leftovers at its finest.
I kind of do the same exact thing with my family. I bring a box of bourbon. That's kind of typically what happens in the past few years now. I'll go to the basement. I'll probably get 7 or 8 bottles and take them up to Ohio and something like that, and we'll sit around and sample them. So it is good to be able to share a lot of that stuff. But yeah, some of the unicorns and stuff like that definitely doesn't make it. And there was actually there's a pretty funny story that put in the chat. David Goff, he said that I brought a 2006 Pappy Van Winkle 20-year to a derby party in 2007. Saw some people mix it with Coke, and then I just slowly removed it from the table.
I think that's, I don't think that's like selfish or anything either. I think if you're with a crowd that's going to be pretty much mixing or isn't going to, enjoy it, or isn't going to get what, you might get out of it knowing what it is, I don't think you're doing anyone any good. In fact, I've shared with people, some better barrel proofs, Stag and Handy and things like that. And, I think they weren't ready, because to them, it was just too much. It burned, and then wanted to, just fill it with ice. And not to say that's not okay. Certainly, use ice if you want to. I think the idea there was they just didn't like it, and they were trying to power through, what are really a couple of great whiskeys, so you depending on the crowd. If you got a crowd that's going to appreciate it, you're going to maybe bring a couple of those. But if it's, a bunch of people that are going to be mixing and that kind of a thing, certainly you're going to bring a different selection to that get together.
Tyson's Toy Channel said Eagle Rare and Buffalo Trace store picks. Pretty much anyone can appreciate them, but you're not going to get mad if they mix them with Coke.
Exactly.
True story.
12 used to be my go-to for that. I'm like, it's a cool story. I'll tell people it's the same mash bill as Van Winkle. I can still pick it up for $30 a bottle. No, and then it's like, oh, geez, 2015 hit, and all of a sudden, like, we can't mix this with Coke anymore. I gotta be angry.
Good. So we missed one that was definitely in the last segment about the cheapest bottle worth having. I saw 2 people chime in saying that Old Granddad and Bonded is definitely having those at a cheaper scale.
Yeah.
definitely have to agree with there. So
Brandon 114 too, right? It's supposed to be ending.
Not super cheap, but good value for the money for sure.
You're gonna start the rumor mill already?
That rumor mill was started a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it's from pretty decent source, actually, that is going to be coming off the table at some point. Sounds like they have a good amount of it. It's still going to see shelves for a while, and seems like people don't buy it. What I've bought is usually pretty dusty around here. I think I'm the only one buying it, to tell you the truth.
It's good.
Yep.
You heard it here first. Breaking Bourbon got the news straight from Fred No and said that.
So I guess if you're looking for something to kind of just have on the shelf and try it before it's all gone, try the 114. The other one is Wild Turkey Forgiven. So what you see on the shelves right now is probably the last of that's going to be happening as well.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
I feel like that can be forgotten.
Wild Turkey Forgotten. The first batch was pretty good. I didn't try the second batch.
That's hilarious. So that'll kind of be a good lead into our next segment, right? So we've talked about the lower stuff, right? Now there was another question that came out there and it said, like, what's your favorite, like, because the holidays are coming up and maybe somebody's asking for a good bourbon and they're like, I just want like a good like $50 bourbon. So that kind of removes some of the lower stuff and removes pretty much like all the high end limited option sort of stuff. So what's the $50 range? Like what's something around there that you see is something that's attainable and that people are going to like?
I think that depends what you want. If you want something that's smoother and well balanced, I think Blanton's is going to be a pretty good option. Of course, that's a little bit more than 50, but it's in that range. If you're looking for barrel proof, you got a couple more options. Again, depends on kind of what you're going for. Maker's Mark has a good flavor profile, but that's going to be different than, Booker's, for example. So you get a bunch of those. One that we've yet to find anybody who didn't like it, Knob Creek Single Barrel. In fact, that's going to be a little under 50. So you'll get out the door usually with tax and everything, for less than 50. That's one that seems to be something everybody likes, and they're always a little bit different because it is a single barrel. So you have that uniqueness to it as well. Hard to not recommend that one if you're looking in that price range.
For sure. Yeah, I think everything Nick just said, if you're looking around 50, if you can get a Blanton's, always good, right? Depending on where you're located, huge swings in prices. So E.H. Taylor's single barrel, right? That's a good one. Some places overcharge, some people undercharge, but you can find in that $50 price range. And that's always a good one too. And I think both those, it's especially if you want to give a gift for people looking like around the $50 to $60 price range, both of those actually present really well as a gift too, right? One comes in a really cool tube. If you get the Blanton's, the store isn't taken out of the box, you get a really cool box, little velvet bag inside of it. And those honestly are like my go-to bourbons. One, because they taste good and I'll probably end up drinking with that person. But two, they make like a really good gift. And if people aren't like super into whiskey, they just think you gave them like the coolest thing on earth, which is good. I mean, they taste great and it just makes a nice presentation.
Yeah, I agree about the presentation side. I love Booker's, right? Being able to have that as a
Same
good
deal.
Price range. And the presentation, I think, is there because it comes in a fancy box. It's got some sweet little label on it. It's got the sliding plastic front to it. And if you're kind of a noob to it, you think that you're getting something that's pretty high class. So sure, you spend a few extra bucks just for the packaging, but I definitely think it's the bourbon's not too bad itself either.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think also Stag Junior kind of gets lost in there because it's not Stag Senior. Well, and I guess it depends on where you are too, because prices can change. I like Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit. I think that's a really good one in that price range that doesn't get a ton of attention. And then Four Roses Single Barrel, it's a little bit under that $40 range, but it's still really good. And, it's kind of fun to chase the limited editions, but there still are a lot of really good bourbons sitting on shelves that get left. And in that $50 range, I'm sure it's probably a pretty big place for consumers because, you don't want to pick up somebody bottle of Jack Daniels. So you're like, $50, what's in here? And, there's still that. It is hard to beat Booker's though with the case, it is barrel proof, all that kind of stuff. So
that's good. It's usually,
that's
that's
still
a good
probably
bourbon.
one of my go-to.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I think. It's almost easier to, because I've had people ask me, they're like, "Oh, I want to get my boss like a good like $100 bourbon. You know, what's a good $100 one?" I'm like, "Oh, that's actually kind of tough because there's really not a whole lot of bourbons on the market, really."
Yeah.
Like what's sitting on the shelf? Maybe a couple Orphan Barrels and Blood Oath, or at $100. There's not a whole lot. It's funny. I feel that question a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Sadly, nowadays with so many stores marking stuff up, it's actually people are like,
may
"Oh,
be-
$100 must be good." It's like, that's actually like a $50 bottle you just got ripped off, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's just Elmer T. Lee. It's not a
Elmer
$100
T.
bottle.
Lee, or Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, or actually,
the
12.
barrel bourbons are around, and they're in that range. Sometimes cheaper, but I guess it depends if you like that flavor profile. I like it, so I've been a fan of the these last few batches they've done.
Yeah, so there's some good ones coming in from people that are chiming in. So Mark Brown said the Willet Pot Still Reserve. Now it's a maybe because it's probably a little bit cheaper, but it definitely has the presentation of the pot still. You know, people get something out of that. Tyson said Stag Jr. You got Speaky said Rock Hill Farms. I personally hate the hell out of Rock Hill Farms, but it's just me.
Really?
Literally, I'll tell you this.
Words.
True story. So I probably got, my first bottle of Rock Hill Farms maybe 2.5, 3 years ago. And it took me damn near 2 years to finish the bottle because I hated it. It took me, for some reason, it just
wasn't one that you came back to and thought, oh man, this has improved a lot.
No, it was, for some odd reason, it was just bad. It was just bad to me. And the worst part is like, oh, it's such a cool looking bottle, right? It looks like it has a cool story to it, or it comes from a certain farm, and maybe they've got some family connect. There's nothing, right? I just wasn't a fan of it. So
Interesting.
And then so Rick Cornell said 1792 foolproof. That's starting to make its way out in a lot of the markets right now. So I guess if
actually
you
that'd
want
be
to
my go-to if you can find it, but that kind of falls in that limited category.
Right.
And I am not a fan of that.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Not a fan at all. I don't know.
Still, why not?
No, and I think it was, I reviewed it maybe 2 months ago now, something like that. It just wasn't. It just was my type of tea. It was just hot, right? It was just, in my book, it was 1792 regular, just cranked up the heat, didn't really balance it out. And I heard that from a lot. I heard the same thing back from a lot of people. Going back, if you let the bottle sit for a really long time with some air, it mellows out a little bit, but it's still, again, my expectation is I shouldn't need to buy a bottle, crack it, pour some out, and then let it sit for a few months before I can really enjoy it, right? So that was my experience with it. We'll see where it goes, but people tend to like. It's cheap. I think the foolproof is gimmicky, right? The name and the story behind it, but I get what they're doing. So we'll see.
Well, they're bringing out some things to the market, right? They're testing it. They're doing some experimentation. They just came out with the high rye. I haven't had a chance to try it yet. Have you all?
I have not tried that yet.
No, not
the
at all.
high rye.
Yeah. Have you had the high rye, Blake?
Let me think about that now. Yes. Hold on. The high rye came out a few months ago, didn't it?
It was like 3 weeks ago.
I feel like I got that sample.
Yeah,
you got a sample, but I didn't else. Yeah.
Yeah, probably about a month ago, maybe a little longer.
I need to go back and check my live reviews. Another Bourbon or Facebook group. No, I had it, and I do kind of remember that now. The high rye, because it's coming out at maybe $35 a bottle, and it sounds like they're going to have a pretty good stock or inventory of bottles. So it was really good. It's not like a Four Roses high rye taste. And it's not even kind of that spiciness you get from Old Granddad and that kind of stuff either, but it's definitely more mellow, but still really good flavor. I'd recommend that one.
Good.
Yeah, everything in that line is pretty reasonably priced, it seems.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it seems
and
like
that's what I think they're trying to.
they're polarizing too. You seem to have people that really love them, people that hate them, and that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot of comments.
I think that's what they're going for with the 1792 brand. It's like, well, at least from Sazerac's point, is okay. We've built up Pappy's. It's its own thing. Antique Collection, it's its own thing. Even regular Buffalo Trace, Blanton's Eagle Rare, those are allocated in a lot of areas. So it's like, well, where do we go next? And I think the redesign of the 1792 brand is a big part of that. Just to build a good following, to keep putting out good releases at a decent price, and try to build those lifetime customers. So then everything they release for the next 10 years, we all buy and love. And
Yeah.
Right on.
It's going to be interesting to see.
So there's a few more people that kind of chimed in. I just want to hit on these ones real quick because I thought they were probably worth talking about, the good $50 bourbons. And Jordan, you had one right behind you, and somebody said the Smooth Antler Old Scout 10-year. Now, is that a $50 one?
I got one. Yeah, just about maybe 52, 53, depending on where you buy it. But it depends on location, right? It's not. Again, I've seen a price for 65. I think I got my bottle for like 52. That was just off the shelf here in PA. So it just depends.
Yeah. So I guess if you jump on the Smooth Ambler bandwagon, I'm sure that's something that everybody will kind of you'll like. I think it's
get it while you can. Get it while you can.
Yeah, that's apparently right. So
so they say.
Yeah. Another one that I kind of like Travis Roberts talked about was Four Roses store picks. Sometimes they're just a little bit they're probably in the 60-ish, $65 range, but still I think it's that's always a good one, especially when you get people that want to start really messing around with quite a different lot of bourbons, and you introduce them to Four Roses, and then you kind of tell them the whole story behind just the mash bill pieces. I think that's a pretty interesting one as well.
Kind of tough to go wrong with Four Roses. They do a good job over there.
Mm-hmm.
Those are always interesting, the variations of those single barrels.
And then there's two more that came in from Ray Perryman. He said Maker's Private Select, which is out in a few different places. It's kind of a hard one to come by, but if you've got liquor stores around you that had sort of the Maker's private barrel selections or private mixings or blendings, whatever you want to call them, that's worth trying. As well as he said Pikesville Rye, which I actually haven't had a chance to try Pikesville Rye, but I had nothing but people had positive response about it.
It's great. Definitely make sure to go, and I just say just go buy a bottle. It's fantastic.
Well, my wife works.
Yeah, that kind of.
I'm waiting for her to bring a bottle home for me for free.
The hell
Or do that. That works too.
Or do that have a bottle yet, man?
Apparently, the closet's empty. So. So we'll move on to. I want to just do like one or two more questions because I know we're already running into like the 30-minute mark. So let's see. So this one is actually coming from a question that came in the channel right here. And let's go up and find it real quick. I'll have to edit this part out. I had it copied and I forgot it. Okay, so this question comes from Dan Hart, and it said, what's the furthest you've traveled for a bottle and what did you get?
I think that's so.
Yeah,
I'll go.
Go ahead.
Oh, you go, Blake. No. So I was going to say, so I don't think I've ever gone just for an individual bottle. Like if I'm gonna drive down to Kentucky, which I do 2-3 times a year just to load up on bourbon, I'll make sure to like stock up, right? So maybe I'll go to Willett just because I really want a store pick bottle, or bottles only sold in the gift shop. But then I'm going to load up my whole trunk full of bourbon too and like drive back 8 hours, right? So I'm going to make it really worth it. If not, I'm going to find someone and just pay them to ship it to me, right? I think that's a little bit easier nowadays, especially through all the Facebook groups. So the need to get in your car and go and just buy a bottle is a little bit less.
Yeah, so I've definitely driven a long way, but I'm trying to figure out. I've also had like other reasons to be places, and I've actually found bottles along the way. But for a specific bottle, I drove, and it was close to. I mean, I'm trying to not as bad by saying it was an hour. one way, but it's probably closer to an hour and 20, hour and 30 minutes one way to pick up a stag last year. But that's also kind of changed now too, because, you know, yeah, I drove 90 miles last year or 2 years ago. But now it's like, man, all my local stores are getting nothing. So I'd probably drive a lot further if I could find one this year. So about that 80-mile range is probably the furthest I've driven so far. And I did it once. And I don't regret it, but at the same time, I don't want that to be a trend either.
Go ahead, Nick.
I've been about maybe about an hour and a half or so. You know, usually around the fall release time here in New York, everything comes out a little bit later. But kind of to echo what Jordan said, you know, he'll take the trips to Kentucky, loads up the trunk. That's for all three of us usually, and then I'm sure other people. This ends up being a lot of bourbon. But locally, it seems like there's definitely a lot of local connections. So unless it's something that doesn't come into New York, can usually work with people here locally, and then obviously there's access online outside of the traditional channels that you can locate those other bottles that you're looking for that are a little bit tougher to find. So,
all right. Well, I think I might have the story here then. So it was last year, 2015, and you guys aren't in Kentucky. You might think it's easy to kind of get your hands on limited stuff, and when BTAC and Pappy come around, this city turns into a freaking circus. And you've got people that drop off business cards saying that they're paying $1,600 for a 23, $900 or $1,100 for a 20, and basically you get priced out of the market pretty quickly. At that point, you've got you're down to about 3 or 4 stores that you can really shop at, and that's about it. Because any small independent stores kind of get taken over. That, and you're also dealing with the other 4,000 people in the city that are chasing after these bottles. So the next best thing we think of is, well, we're just going to look out of state. That's exactly what we're going to do. And so it was 2015, and I remember, I'm pretty sure I saw it on Blake's site with the Pappy map, right? And it said that it was like a week later, the Alabama ABC announced the day that it was going to start selling Pappy. I pull up Google Maps and I'm like, 5 hours. I could do that, right? So 5 hours to Birmingham, right? I was like, I could do that, right? So I did it, right? So it was it was Saturday night, it was about Saturday night, and I told my wife, I said, I'm gonna drive to Alabama and camp out for bourbon. And I was like, okay, well, let's just go ahead and do it. So I'm driving down there, and I'm like, oh, it's just Alabama. Like, these people probably aren't really into it or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm easily gonna be first in line. Like, I've got myself a 23. It's in the bag. And I pull up there. It's probably, it's 4 a.m. on a Sunday now. And I pull in, and I'm like, oh shit, there's already a huge line. I'm like 12th in line already. So that's when I realized, like, well, I'm already invested. I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not sure around to go home.
Yeah. So I was like, well, at this point, I'm sticking around, because they had quite a few different things. It's basically their whole limited allocation gets released on that.
Okay.
Day. And so I kind of hung around and met a few good people. So it ended up, stayed there that night, and then had to stay there Sunday night as well. And then they didn't open until 10 a.m. on Monday. So
holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were there for like 36 hours. I thought it was like you got there at 4 a.m. and then we went the next morning.
Guys, I'm not fucking around here, okay? Like, all right.
Oh, my word.
So, by the way, at that point, when I realized that I was like the 12th in line, I said, next year, this is not happening. Like, I'm never going to do it again. And I definitely didn't go this year. But anyways, so I oddly enough, as you could probably expect, they don't have a large allocation, right? So by the fourth or fifth person in line, the Pappies were gone. I mean, that was 2320, 215s, and that was it, right? So I was just kind of struggling. I was like, oh no, what do I do? Thankfully, in front of me, there were a good amount of flippers. You know exactly they were there. They were paid to stand there in line, whatnot, and they're scrambling. Like they've got an envelope full of cash and they have no idea what to buy because there's no Pappy available. And you've got the lady that's in charge of them all, like saying, like, get the size 18 or something like that. And so they get a few things, and finally, like, I get in there, and I was able to snag the last William Blue Weller, so I got that.
Oh, okay.
Now, the other kicker here, what actually made the trip all more worth it, was they hand you a sheet, and it says, this is what you can buy. You can only choose one thing on this sheet, and that's all the allocated stuff. And then they have another side of the piece of paper that just has just regular bourbon. You can buy as much as you want. And one thing that me and a buddy in line noticed was that Old Forester birthday bourbon was on that you can buy as much as you want. And of course, everybody in front of us, they had no idea what they were there. They had no idea what they were looking for. So me and him both grab a case, put it on the counter, and we're like, we're going to take this. So that
made it worth it.
Made it all worthwhile.
Yeah, it made it worthwhile. However, I feel bad for the other 200 people that were in line behind me. Basically, me and two other guys cleared out Old Forester birthday bourbon.
It wouldn't
even.
They were just thinking it's just this Old Forester stuff. Nobody really wants it. That's pretty cool. I think they switched that to you need a Alabama license this year, maybe. Or maybe that was just Pennsylvania.
Wow. I mean, PA's done that for the last 2-3 years, ever since they no, not even, because PA no, you do.
I think it was just last year they moved to a license.
Need a license to pick up. Yeah, but you can designate. No, you can't. If you enter the lottery, you need to have a PA address, like a billing and shipping address.
Kenny, will you go on record saying that you found William LaRue Weller through the Bourboner Antique Collection release map?
I guess I'm like your one success story.
Yeah.
What's the royalty?
Everyone, I'm going to forward everyone a bunch of emails after this. Look who I.
Put it this way,
helped by the map.
Yeah, your royalty is I'll be your shipping mule now. So
no one's taking me up on the royalty of send me that spare bottle you found, but I haven't gotten that one yet.
And that's what Ben Jackson just commented, said now Alabama you actually have to show an Alabama driver's license.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. No, I emailed with Ben. He's a good guy. That's funny. Yeah, I thought they had switched to that. But
good
which
thing
makes sense.
Sure.
I mean, because you don't want all these crazies like Kenny driving down from Kentucky just to steal cases of Old Forester birthday bourbon.
Is that a state-controlled state?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
They are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense then.
Yeah, because and I think it was last year or the year before that it was supposed to kind of be like a little bit of a not top secret, but they weren't going to let it out that Pappy was being released on a specific day. And some guy finds out and posts it in the Alabama Times or whatever it is, and then everyone picks it up, and then there's a line 48 hours before them actually releasing. But
that's how it works. The Speakeasy said he says I made the rookie mistake of road tripping from Wisconsin to Kentucky, thinking I'd find anything Weller, very special Old Fitzgerald, 12 year in the summer. He goes, and I went home with Larceny and a 4 Roses. So I think that's gonna about wrap it up. I think we've maxed out. We're at hitting about 40 minutes here. So with that, I don't think we have time for one more question. Actually, there's one more that I think somebody else wanted me to ask. And since you guys try a lot more bourbons than I have, I'm gonna push this over to you. And I got to find it real quick. I just got to edit this part out.
Rapid fire question time.
Yeah, no shit.
Well, keep your answers to 10 seconds or less.
Let me bring it up real quick because I lost it. We're gonna have a little bit of editing. I'm gonna have to do some editing in this one for sure.
Hey, that's okay. Mark Brown, is that CEO of Buffalo Trace Mark Brown asking questions here tonight?
Don't ask me.
He decided to
Hands
join
everywhere
in.
at all times.
It's like, let's see what these bloggers are up to tonight. I'm going to jump on this live chat.
Then Jackson's calling it out.
Yeah, he
Julian
said
Baum,
he's-
thank you.
All right, fine. We'll talk about the Julian Baum.
Julian Baum.
I wish Kerry would have shown up. He's still on roller coasters at Six
Wait
Flags.
for him. He's waiting
So-
to drop the bomb.
I'll start it off. So this past week on Twitter, Kerry got kind of fed up, I guess you could say, and it's always been something I think in the realm of all of us bloggers, people that are into it, and put it this way: you go on a forum and you say, "I'm in search of Pappy 10." You're just asking to get your ass chewed out, and so he finally put it out on Twitter and he asked Julian Van Winkle directly, and he said, "Do you consider Pappy 10 and Pappy 12, for old Rip Van Winkle and Lot B?" And he responded back with, "I don't know."
Yeah, it wasn't a carefully crafted tweet, I guess.
To me, it was so funny because I feel like everything he puts out is just so, and we're happy to have you guys looking after our bourbons.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, for some reason, Kerry just got the fire of Julian Van Winkle. And it couldn't have happened to a better person because I'm probably going to rub it in 2 years. Remember that one time when Julian called you out on Twitter? But, I mean, I understood his question, and that's what Julian, I don't think, got the question was, do you consider them a part of the Pappy line? So many people kind of confuse it at this point. Do you just consider them a part of the Pappy line? That's the question, but then the answer was just so much better of, well, just read the label and you'll find your obviously Kerry knows the difference. He was trying to get to a deeper meaning, but
yeah, so
it didn't get
that doesn't
You
know.
shut that down quick.
Yeah, so Julian replied back, and it says, this is word for word. It says, "Read the label. Period. 10 years."
I think there was a
10 years
idiot.
older Van Winkle. 12 years VWSR, and period. Pappy is the brand name of 15/20/23. Period. That's it. It was there was no deeper explanation. No
That's great.
thanks for asking. We've had this conversation internally. No, it was just bam. Read the label.
And then after that, he said, "Go buy Pappy maple syrup from Pappy and Company."
Hashtag Pappy slap.
Is Pappy slap trending on Twitter yet? Hashtag Pappy slap.
I think they started it. I have no idea. All right. So with that, I want to say, guys, thank you again for coming on the show tonight. Let's close it out, kind of go around the table and tell everybody again how they can find you, how they can follow you, and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So this is, again, Jordan from breakingbourbon.com. You can find us at breakingbourbon.com or at Breaking Bourbon on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for our newsletter, and follow our release calendar, which is updated almost daily.
Also, Nick from breakingbourbon.com here. And Eric is the third member. He's not on the call on the chat today.
Why doesn't Eric get any FaceTime? I feel like we've had a couple of these. Eric gets left out on all of them.
He's the web design guy, so he's got
the third guy.
tons
Does he
of
actually
hours
exist, or are we just
doing the web design. So we put in the time on the chats.
Yeah, they're all looking for an answer now. Eric, you just phone me in. I'll get you. Get you the link, Eric. I'm Blake
character.
I'm Blake from Bourboner.com, Bourboner.com on Twitter, Bourboner on Instagram, and then there's a Bourboner Facebook group. feel free to join the newsletters, and if you join the Facebook group, you get to join in on a lot of live tastings. So that's where all the fun happens.
Awesome. And make sure you support the show on Patreon if you like what you hear. That's patreon.com/Bourbon Pursuit. Also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Bourbon Pursuit. And we'll keep pushing out new episodes every Friday. So hopefully you keep tuning in, and we're going to keep doing these community roundtables, I think, once a month. I think this has been a pretty good cadence there, and I think a lot of good banter back and forth. So again, appreciate you guys coming on, and we'll keep spreading our brand messages as far as we can to as many people as we can.
Cool. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks.
All right. We'll see everybody next week. All right. So we're out. Now there was one question that I just pulled it up here. And this is from Troy. And this is like, I've never had either of these, but he said, if you had a choice of which one of these, which do you prefer? And he goes, I know that they're different whiskeys, but which one would you bring home? And he said, Rebel Yell 10-year single barrel, or the High West Midwinter Nights Dram Act 4?
I haven't had the Rebel Yell yet. I really want to try that. Heard a lot of good things about that. So it's going to be tough
That's
to
hard to
comment on that.
say.
So different.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's just like a
different.
completely, it's like, which would you rather have, regular Angel's Envy or the rye? They're completely different.
good.
Are you looking for something sweeter? If you like sweeter, obviously go High West. But I mean, I thought the Rebel Yell 10-year was really good too. I mean, my preference, I would probably pick up 2 Rebel Yell 10 years just because $45, $50 bottle. And the Midwinter Nights Dram is probably closer to 80. So yeah, that's a toss up. It's kind of a hard comparison, when you're dealing with different types of whiskeys and different price points.
Right. I think it comes down to too, like either you like barrel finished products or you don't. I love barrel finished whiskeys and bourbons just because it's something different, right? It just like breaks up the monotony a little bit sometimes, just gives you something new to experiment with. That being said, there's also some really bad ones out there, right? And I can see why people just shy away and don't like them. So, and they're expensive. Kudos to $17.92 for having their port finish, which is actually the cheapest on the market for a barrel finish. But normally, yeah, you're right. Paying what, $80-$90 for a bottle of something that's may not be your liking. So safe bet, usually go for the bourbon over a barrel finish anytime. Not saying it's necessarily better. I'm just saying if you haven't had either and you're not sure how to like barrel finish, yeah.
It's true because it's like, High West is probably maybe a 6-year MGP bourbon, or is that rye?
That's a rye. Yeah, it's the Rendezvous finished in wine barrels.
6-year-ish Rendezvous finished in wine barrels, or a 10-year-old bourbon.
There you look at that. There you go.
Right there.
It's got a strong wine influence. This is Act 2. But
yeah, it does have. It kind of reminds me more of like the Jefferson's Groth cask, which has a really heavy, which I actually, but has a really heavy wine. So yeah, that's kind of a tough one to say one way or the other. Kenny, I talked to Joe at Barrel this week, and he said, and I was telling him about the community roundtable. He said, "Oh man, tell him I definitely want to do the show. I want to carve out some time early next week." I said, "Nope, I'm telling him you're not going to do it." And you said until he gets
Bourbon
the downloads,
yeah,
and podcast downloads, you're not going to do it.
Yeah,
he'd be a really good one though.
he would.
So I
He's
met
a
him.
good guy.
Yeah, I met him at Whiskey Live.
That's
whenever Bourbon Fair was going on, and so I met him there. Yeah, super nice guy. Kind of gave us a little background and kind of history, and I was like, okay, let's get you on the show. Let's figure this out. And he was like, well, I'm actually in Louisville, like at least 1 week out of every month. I said, okay, well, let's not worry about doing a hangout. Like, let's get you actually in person. And so he was here the week when BTAC was released, and I was just like, it's not a good week. It's not.
Yeah. My bourbon time is definitely taken up. Yeah. Are we still like live on YouTube and everything?
Yeah,
Still
yeah,
live
we
on
still
YouTube.
are. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Which I mean, I think he's kind of going to be down there more. Let's say that.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
bought an apartment or something like that. So
Okay. I didn't want to like throw someone's business out there. If
no, I don't know where it is. I mean, I guess you can spill that, and we can,
he bought an apartment at 12:45.
just show up.
Like,
He's storing all his barrels there.
No, he'd be a really good one because he's very knowledgeable, and I feel like it's a really interesting story because he's from New York and started this brand, and now he's kind of they've got a lot of really cool stuff that he's aging and rum is the next. What do bourbon guys go to whenever they can't get BTAC and Pappy? They're going to go to a nice aged rum. So that could be the next. Well, although
You heard it here first.
I think they, I think they finish in bourbon barrels.
They do.
No.
So that's what's cool about that rum. They're finishing it in bourbon barrels. Everything has some
Yeah,
sort of whiskey
they have-
influence with what they're doing, which is nice.
Don't you have one
They-
from Smooth Ambler,
yeah.
Jordan? A rum?
Yeah, I do. I have their Smooth Ambler. What is that? Revelation? Is that what they call their rum line? So I have one, like the
that's
first
rum
batch of
rum,
that.
right?
Yeah, that's not really. So they're not aging that. It's the lowest aged rum in that is I think 24 years old. I picked it up 2 years ago when I was at the distillery. Yeah, it's sourced, but it's really
So
good.
they've sourced all that?
Yeah, it's a blend
Okay, I
of
didn't
three.
realize
It's a blend of 3 rums. I think the youngest is 24. This have to put like it's a 24-year-old rum, but
Mhm.
it's good. I mean, I'm not super into rums, but I'm super into supporting small local distillers on there. So I picked up a bottle. It's good,
Yeah.
but it's not finished
that's-
anything. It's just rum.
It's just rum.
Yeah.
That's my floor is like other spirits within the bourbon industry. So Bauman released a new gin the other day.
Okay, yeah.
Buffalo Trace has their Wheatley vodka. And just
no
kind of
thanks.
talk about some of those other. No, yeah. And that's. I mean, what do you guys think about distilleries dipping into other spirits? Good
Well,
idea,
I
bad
think
idea?
The craft distilleries kind of have to. I mean, you kind of have to make vodka. You have to make
This
gin.
is
I
kind
mean,
of the weird trend that I see is it started out with like craft distilleries. Obviously, if a new craft guy opens up, what's he going to do? He's going to do vodka. He's going to do gin. The vodka's probably going to be sourced. Maybe he redistills it. But now the bigger guys are doing it. You see the Wheatley vodka, the Bauman. They're trying to pump out more and more gin. They already had a gin. This is their second trend. And I was talking to Chris Comstock at Buffalo Trace about it, and he's like, well, our take is if you trust us with bourbon and you're going to buy vodka, why wouldn't you trust us with a vodka? And I kind of agree with that to an
makes sense.
extent. If I'm going to buy vodka, do I want to support Smirnoff and whatever else they do, or do I prefer to support Buffalo Trace and because I kind of like what they have going on. So from that perspective, I kind of liked it.
Well, that makes sense.
I mean, so
too.
that
Go ahead, Jordan.
I was gonna say, so that one's a little bit unique, right? I mean, with the Trace vodka, that's more of like, I want to say it's. I mean, from what they told me last time I was down there getting the tour, like that was more of like a labor of love, right? And that's cool. And you know what? If, like stuff like that keeps distillers at large organizations, especially Trace, which just pumps out whiskey, like, hey, you want to branch out and try something new, and that like keeps your creative juices flowing, by all means do it, right? I don't think they're trying to, they're not going to say, hey, we're taking on Smirnoff now in the vodka industry.
Yeah,
That's fine, right? It's when you're going after for the right reasons, I think it's okay. Just to go after because other people are, I think that's when it starts to fall apart, right? So something like that, yeah, that's cool. I think that's more of the exception to the norm, though, truth be told.
Do you think it's odd that
Yeah.
Wheatley would have a vodka named after him, and he's probably never going to have a bourbon named after him?
You have to have something, right? So at least he has something.
It's a completely good tie-in, though. You know, you got a wheated vodka. His name's Wheatley.
Yeah.
I guess.
And that's, you know, I guess my biggest pet peeve is, you know, you go to a party and people are like, "Oh, I only drink Tito's vodka." I'm like,
yeah, that's yeah.
Tito's is garbage that they redistill in Texas that they buy from Ultra Pure or wherever it is, and you probably don't like vodka if you like Tito's. But so that's where I'm like, okay, I'm happy with a guy like Buffalo Trace jumping in and because Heaven Hill has. What's their other spirits? I know
everything. They do rum.
Heaven Hill's line is the same thing.
Yeah, name a spirit they don't
vodka?
do. That's probably a better one.
Yeah. What's the name of their vodka? Maybe it's their rum I'm thinking of.
Well, they just bought the what's the vodka out of Austin, Texas, Deep Eddy. So they just bought that.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so they have that in their portfolio now. Burnett's vodka, that's what they have as well.
Okay.
Blackheart,
So
spiced rum.
Mm-hmm.
So will they keep that distillation at the place, or will they kind of funnel their own? Not to get too much inside information, but
You think my wife tells me anything? You didn't even give me a bottle of fucking Pikesville, so yeah, it's not.
She's not giving you trade secrets
Weekend.
to share with your bourbon friends online.
Yeah, she's definitely not feeding me anything. So
yeah. But I mean, I think it is kind of an interesting. It's kind of an interesting trend that something that is kind of started with the craft guys and is funneling up is now, you know, because most of it's usually the craft guys just trying to do whatever the big guys have been doing. And now I think there's kind of a movement of the craft guys making their own way and doing their own thing. We'll see how that turns out, but it's interesting.
yeah,
Well, every craft vodka I've ever had has been much better than the big brands on the shelf.
Yeah,
They seem to distill it a lot. I think the Adirondack Distilling Company, they get down to like 6%, I think, left over after distilling. It just tastes a lot better than the Smirnoff and those other ones, the big names, the big brands out there.
Well, I just know I got to start buying other different liquids because the bourbon game's getting stupid now. So
just send your stuff you don't want. Just send it our ways. We'll split it up.
Yeah, I bet you will.
Yeah, I was talking with a guy today, and so Florida, I think I gotta check text, but it was I think 55 bottles of Stag, like the entire state. So I was talking to a retailer today, and he's like,
"Like, are you mad? Or are you okay with it?"
No, I'm mad. Like, I mean, in 2014, I think I got, I don't want to publish this, but maybe 10 to 12 bottles of the Stag myself.
Mm-hmm. At about 8.
And so now I'm looking at, like compared to 14 to 16, I would have had, 20% of the allocation for the entire state.
Well, let's pull up those numbers. We can get an exact figure.
The Breaking Bourbon spreadsheet out here and figure this out.
And so now, like, I mean, it's just ridiculous. A guy who he's not statewide by any chance, but my wife's looking at me like, you had 10 to 12 bottles of the same bottle.
We can let her know that it's an epic bottle now, and it's worth about 6 times its original value.
Yeah, so. She's asking why we don't have pavers in the backyard, and I told her because we got to invest money in bourbon. What are you talking about? Gonna be able to trade, but this is the reason, because in 2016, I don't know if I'll get a single bottle of Pappy or the Antique Collection luckily I can trade if I need to.
Yeah.
But allocations has gotten cut so deep, and at least Florida alone, I don't know if y'all are seeing it, but the allocations have dwindled, and then the amount of allocations that's going to the big retailers is, maybe 90% goes to the big retailers now. So this guy usually gets of each antique collection. This year he got 2. And it's not like a retailer who is just somebody's got 4 or 5 stores. He's done a barrel of Blanton's Eagle Rare. We've done 2 1792. He's done a Buffalo Trace barrel. So it's like
what do I have to do to try to get something out?
Yeah. He's stuck here like, do I have to buy 4,500 cases of Brain vodka, or are you just gonna not care at all what we do? Interesting to see how that changes, but
yeah, I mean,
I'm not sure if you know, and I want to talk about this, but thinking about it, right? So everyone's like, oh, I buy all these barrel picks, like it should help me out. And I just don't know with the 3-tier system. When people in the community do barrel picks, right? Does the distributor see any markup on that whatsoever? Like, is there any incentive for them? Oh, do they? Okay.
Full markup.
Okay.
And
so then that's just money for them.
Not to jump in and answer for people, but that's been my problem with a couple of different barrel picks I've done through Bourboner. Is it's like, look, I have all of the sales ready for you. All you have to do is basically just sign a sheet.
Act as a clearinghouse, right?
Yeah. Will you at least give us a discounted on your, 33% or whatever you're going to take? Nope. We're taking full.
Wow.
Taking full commission. Yeah. That's kind of been my frustration with some of these barrel picks is I would like to give them to Bourboner readers at a much more discounted price, but the distributor doesn't care because it's one barrel when they're doing, thousands and thousands of bottles and barrels worth of who knows what, Smirnoff and Crown, and they don't really care when it's a private barrel of Buffalo Trace.
Yeah. I mean, even here in Kentucky, I couldn't. I'm pretty sure it's been the same story now the past 2 or 3 years, because every single year you go and you talk to a regular store owner, or you don't even know, and you're just out hunting and you just go into a random store and ask for stuff, and everybody always says the same story: allocation's down this year. We didn't get as much as last year, and you're saying it's down as well. And honestly, I don't know where it's fucking going unless it's just all going to California at this point. But the other thing is that it's as big as it ever has been, and so I wouldn't be surprised if most of the store owners keep a lot of stuff for themselves, because I know plenty that do. Which I mean, fuck it. If I owned a store, I'd be doing the same thing, right? Sorry, but that's the one thing. If I was to go into it, I'd probably do. But don't get me wrong, I'm not going to go and open up a liquor store just for allocated bourbon. That sounds like it sounds like a whole thing I don't want to deal with. Right?
Sounds like a lot
Save
more
a trip to Alabama. Open up a liquor store.
It'll save me like a few bad hours a year, but that's about it. But yeah, I don't know where it's all going, but like I mean, you kind of said it the same thing. I think in 2014, I would go to like 8 or 9 stores in the same day, like, oh, bottle stack. Like, I mean, I was just picking up left and right. I probably had 8 or 9 of them. And then come 2015, shit got worse. Come 2016, it was abysmal. Like, I don't even want to tell you how I ended up getting my collection, but yeah.
Seems like there's a story behind that one.
I wouldn't call it the ethical route by any means. And people probably would if I told them exactly how I got it. So it takes a lot of money, and then you got to sell a lot to be able to keep a little.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's a
No,
scramble.
but I mean, I think a lot of it's going to more and more on premise because these sales guys know that they can squeeze more of a dollar out of an on-premise sale because sell a stag for an ounce or whatever it is, and so they get a lot more. And it's kind of a mystery to me how increases according to Breaking Bourbon by 33%, but it only gets 56, 60 bottles. So where it's going, I don't know. Did they just keep more in Kentucky? Maybe that's smart. I don't. So it's weird how they're allocating right now, but as a sob story, Total Wine, they just haven't gotten any for the last 2 years, and now all of a sudden it shows up and it's given to their Grand Reserve members. So it's definitely a mystery at this point.
All right,
Well, boys, I don't mean to cut it short. Keep talking without me, but I do need to drop off.
Yeah, I got to do the
Probably
same.
about time to call it.
Yep.
No, all right, well, I'm going to stay on.
So anybody else to stay on for a Blake review, you can go ahead and stay here.
We got 15 viewers still on here.
We're 15 viewers. We're going to do a solo show. No, I started off way too early been doing this no carb thing for this week and getting at dinner at my brother's house. So, but at this point, I need to sign off. Yeah,
all right, fellas.
All right. Well, thanks again
Thanks,
for putting
guys.
this together.
All right. So we'll same time here next month or something. We'll figure it out. All right. And thank you
Sounds
everybody else
good.
that joined. This was fun. It's always great to have a lot of people that join in the chat and kind of keep this community involved. Right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
James, thanks for
Bye.
drinking the